Here is your host of Armed American Radio, Mark Walters. Walter.
Indeed. Right now, we're going to go to the CEO of Kahr Arms, my good friend Justin Moon, who is quickly becoming a regular contributor to the program. Justin, up in northeastern Pennsylvania, how are you today, my friend?
Hey, it's good to hear from you again, Mark. Thank God that Trump is our president.
Boy, I'll tell you what. Tell me as a manufacturer, as a CEO of Kahr Arms, tell me as a manufacturer what you thought and what you felt when that directive came down.
Oh, I was happy. I was celebrating. That was fantastic because, I have three plants. I have a plant in Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, and Minnesota. And the governor in Massachusetts, he was passing his stay-at-home order, and it wasn't clear that he wasn't exempting firearms manufacturers. So we were looking at it, and it looked like, we under his ruling, under his regime, we had to shut down our firearms manufacturing, and that was nuts. And, the same thing in Minnesota. It wasn't clear about where firearms manufacturers stood in Minnesota. And we were seriously debating whether or not we had to shut down that plant as well. And so those two plants really, if it wasn't for the direction which, people like Aaron Gottlieb and all the other people working for the gun rights industry putting pressure on the government, if it wasn't for them, we could have had a very anti-freedom kind of result happening all over the country because of these emergency orders, to deal with the healthcare epidemic. And
Justin, let me ask you a tough question, and you don't have to answer this, but I've gotten this question from a number of folks around the country, not just now, but I'm hearing it more now. But New Jersey, for example, is a prime example of this. Why do manufacturers continue to do business with that state when they continue to thumb their nose at our constitutional rights rather than just walk away?
Well, I've been in process of reducing my footprint in the anti-gun states, especially Massachusetts. We've been continuously moving operations out of there to Pennsylvania.
Right.
Traditionally, the gun manufacturers are all in that region because that's where traditionally firearms manufacturing started. So there's a lot of support industries, from platers to heat treaters to machinists to metal formers to metal workers to skilled labor. And as a result, it's to do manufacturing, it's relatively convenient to be next to those suppliers. And that's why a lot of gun makers, that entire gun valley runs through that northeast corridor that's gone from, New Jersey all the way through Connecticut through Massachusetts. But, that's the challenge we face today is that entire corridor has become so anti-gun. And so we are in process of moving out of Massachusetts, and we will continue to reduce our footprint there. But it's not an easy move to make because we have to make sure that we seamlessly move production, that we don't lose skilled labor, we don't lose the quality of the product, we don't lose the supply to the marketplace. And having to navigate that challenge of moving operations, it's definitely not easy. It's stressful on the employees, stressful on the on the company as a whole. But it's a long-term direction which we see no choice but to make, and so we are moving in that direction.
Well, you're to be applauded for that because I remember what you guys did shortly after the SAFE Act. You made national news when you guys moved over into Greer, Pennsylvania. And let me an offshoot of that. What about selling your products to the state and taking their money when I got to be really careful so I don't say something the FCC might not like, but when they're not honoring our Second Amendment, the rights of American citizens' Second Amendment freedoms? I mean, why not boycott the state? Is that plausible or no?
Yeah, I don't sell a lot to local governments these days because we focused a lot of our product line to developing more patriotic products. We've got the Trump 1911s,
right?
The Trump 1927 Tommy guns. We got the American Revolution pistol, and we're doing a lot of a lot of historical collectibles and a lot of patriotic themes in our firearms. And so we've kind of backed off on a lot of the law enforcement business that we used to do through Kahr Arms. And we are more focused on serving the patriots at this point with our business strategy. And I think that's the right place for us to be because, you know, it's the patriotic community in America which still keeps the Second Amendment alive because, you know, we do face large portions of our population which have been quite hostile to our rights and to our freedoms. Hopefully this pandemic and this crisis and this emergency will wake a lot of people up to realizing that, hey, in a situation where the whole country is, you know, under lockdown like this, if you know, and the governments around the country are letting prisoners out of the prison, that, you know, you're going to be responsible for your own self-preservation and your self-protection. And so hopefully a lot of people will come to that realization. And I think we are seeing a lot of first-time gun buyers in this cycle here. And so, you know, we do operate a retail store in Pennsylvania, and I'm out there with my guys because they are in the front line, potentially exposed to the coronavirus. Mm-hmm. And so I want to be out there as much as I can with them. And I've been talking with the people coming in. There's a lot of first-time buyers in the stores, and that's pretty, you know, that's pretty hopeful.
It is, and you know, interesting. I think so. I think it will. Interesting. The dealers that I've spoken to, and I've spoken to a number of them, are all echoing roughly the same statistic that between 75 and 85% of everybody coming in is, in fact, a new gun buyer. And when they're seeing ammo, they're seeing veteran gun owners coming in, maybe want some more ammo. But from the gun buyer perspective itself, is that reflected in your shop as well?
We are seeing a lot of new buyers buy guns and a few boxes of ammo, and a lot of traditional gun buying, you know, customers coming back to buy more ammo. So that's what we're observing in Pennsylvania also.
That's good. All right, well, listen, we're getting ready to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to be asking you, Justin Moon. Justin Moon, of course, listeners, is the CEO of Kahr Arms up in Pennsylvania, KAHR. Make sure to check out the Kahr Firearms Group. They've got some dynamite products. We'll ask him about some of those Patriot products in the next segment. He's going to be able to stick with us for one more segment. But I want to get his perspective, too. Where does he see, Justin? I want to know this when we come back. Where do you see the Second Amendment going, or how's it going to shape, or what's going to be different about it after this whole weird thing is over? We'll be back with Justin Moon right after this. Don't go away. Welcome back indeed. Defender Coffee is getting ready to start doing a lot more work with the Second Amendment Foundation coming up in the very, very near future. I will keep you clued in during the weekday program, Monday through Friday, airing live 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 to 2 Pacific, on dozens and dozens of radio stations across the country, but airing at various times depending on what affiliate you might be listening to. Now, DefenderCoffee.com is where you want to go to do that, DefenderCoffee.com. And that weekday studio is the Gunbroker.com studio on this Kahr Arms Platinum microphone. Right now we're in the Crossbreed Studios on the Lead Slingers microphone. You got to love Lead Slingers. Brad Primo, CEO of Lead Slingers, is going to be here in the next hour. We're talking with Justin Moon. This is a fairly short segment, so let's jump right back to it. Justin, of course, is the CEO of Kahr Arms. Justin, I asked Gottlieb this question, and I got a lot of people asking me this question in different forums. What do you see the Second Amendment, or how do you see the Second Amendment after this mess? Because our liberties look pretty fragile right now, brother, where we're seeing them treaded on. What do you think? What is it going to look like when this is over?
Hey, I'm optimistic about the future. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of new people coming into this industry and buying guns as a result of this virus. I think a lot of people are shocked to see supermarket stores empty. They're shocked to have this, you know, national and statewide emergencies where the government's shutting down businesses all across the country. I mean, where in the Constitution does it say that the government has a right to shut down a business or deem one business essential and another business not essential? It really, you know, kind of shocks the American psyche to see how much power the government is grabbing away from the American people. And I think when we get past to the other side of this, you know, this pandemic, a lot of Americans are going to reflect on it and they're going to have some second thoughts about the extent of state power. I know I'm grateful to God that Trump is in office and that he's the one administering, all of this response to the virus. And he's done the best that he can to make sure that it's measured and that he doesn't overreach too much. But can you imagine what would have happened if somebody else like Hillary Clinton was the president?
Oh, the nightmare scenario, I don't even want to think about it. I don't even want to think about what it would. It's awful to think about it. It is a nightmare, literal nightmare scenario to think about what would happen to the right to keep and bear arms. You would have probably had a completely different outcome had that been the case. I agree with you on that. I think that's the case too. And I think the gun control zealots, Justin, are back on their heels right now because so many Americans in record numbers are not looking towards their agenda, but in fact are looking towards our agenda. And so let me take that in this direction then. I may have asked you this last week, but the question is an important one. And that is our liberties. You just said, who is the government? How did we get to a point where the government can deem a business essential or non-essential? As a businessman myself for many years, as long as I have customers, my business is essential to somebody.
Absolutely.
Right? So
restaurants are absolutely essential to this economy.
So how do we balance now after this? When I like the way you put it, when we come out of the other side of this, and we're going to come out of the other side of this, we'll come out a lot quicker if the press shuts up. The way with their doom and gloom. That would help out a lot if you're media listening. My gosh, pay attention, please. But our liberties here, you've just mentioned it. The government apparently has more power than we ever thought. And I'm beginning to think, and a lot of other people are beginning to think, that maybe our liberties aren't really real, that they're just letting us have. It's almost like a matrix. Yeah, you got them now because we said, but when this happens, we're going to take them from you. That's got me pretty scared, Justin, really.
I think the velvet glove is off of the iron fist, and people can see the raw power of the government, and it is terrifying. I mean, right now the government has as much or more power as Adolf Hitler had during Nazi Germany, or Stalin had during Stalinist Russia. Now, we thank God that we have a good president who's not misusing it,
right?
But we know for sure that the president's going to, he's not going to be president forever. There's going to be another president, and we know we will have a bad president because we always do. Once in a while, you get a bad one. What will happen in that case when we have a bad president and he decides to use these emergency powers to become dictator for life?
That's a great point. That it is. It's frightening, and a lot of people are scared to death of it. You've got AP reports out now where local governments are scared. New York City governments in big cities across the country, Detroit, I was just reading, they're worried now about civil unrest in their communities as this continues to drag out. And as you know today, Trump's deal put it out till April 30th. So there are desperate people do desperate things, and that's why people are looking to protect themselves, not that smart aleck, what are you going to do, shoot the virus that we heard from Biden and the like, the other day. But, I'm with you on that 100%. So, listen, we've only got a couple minutes. I want to give the microphone to you. I want you to tell listeners what we need to be paying attention to, what we need to be thinking about through these times. What is the word from you, who's a patriot, to other Americans who are feeling unease right now? What do you want to tell them?
I think the most important thing is we have to be grateful that we have a good president at this time. But we have to be mindful of the fact that these emergency laws, which have been passed not only at the federal level but the state and local level, these emergency laws are a serious threat to our personal liberty and freedoms. Our forefathers, they've been through epidemics before, but they kept the right of self-determination to themselves. They never surrendered it to a government. I mean, even during the 1918 influenza, there were local governments were dealing with a problem. The local citizens were deciding what to do and, whether or not they should quarantine themselves. You didn't have Big Brother ordering the entire nation to shut down. I mean, this is very scary what's happening right now. And I hope that, Americans realize how important our liberties are and how important it is to have restraint on government power. Because once government breaks free of the chains of the Constitution, there's no way to put it back in the chains. It will not go peacefully.
No, that I like to say when you lift the grill lid off, the smoke's out. You can't recollect it, and I'm afraid that we're there right now. When I see the government taking stakes in businesses that they're lending money to through a shutdown that was forced on those businesses by the very government that's now going to lend them money to save them, and then taking stock in that business, that's nationalizing a business in my book, and that bothers me. That should concern every American, I think,
right? It's terrifying.
It really is brutal and vicious. Okay, where can people find your... Go ahead, please.
Yeah, but think about all the businesses that were shut down. Basically, all the non-essential businesses are businesses that don't work for the government. So there's another one for you.
Well, that's a great point. And in another case, where I am here in Georgia, you've got essential businesses. Virtually everything's open. There might be some restrictions, but virtually everything is deemed essential for the most part. Bars, they can still serve food. You just can't go inside. Hey, Justin Moon, we're going to keep bringing you back. We're going to bring you back again next week because I promise you something else is going to be up there and something's going to change in the next 24 hours. Justin Moon, CEO of Kahr Arms. You betcha. One of our great partners here at Armed American Radio, Monstercast, Crossbreed Holster Studios. Lead Slinger microphone back right after this.